What follows is free. But if you want to see the full extent of what we do and get involved, go to patreon.com/word in your ear. Now, on with the show. I'm delighted to be able to say, after all these years of doing Word in Your Ear, Word in Your Attic, finally, we're doing Word in Your Record Shop.
Excellent.
This is just brilliant to be joined, to join Phil Jump from the legendary Badlands Records in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, who's gone out of his way to open his shop on Sunday morning just to be with us today. Although no customers will be admitted during this broadcast. That's pretty much
But we expect him to be banging on the door because we can see him in there.
The rock and roll Cheltenham, isn't it? Really, 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
True. That is true. Actually, you should be safe.
Well, look, it's lovely to see you. How long have you had the shop?
God, I've been in this location since 1988, and prior to that, we were a couple of years in the centre of Cheltenham in a kind of market square. I started with my brother Stephen in late 85.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to go through all that. So what we traditionally do is we ask our guests if they can remember the music playing machinery that was in their home when they were a child. Can you?
I am absolutely, yeah. I was really into music at a very, very young age. My dad was into his hi-fi, and I remember in our lounge we had a radiogram, an all-in-one piece of furniture. But it was very I'd like to get one actually. It was very 60s and square and G-plan and very cool-looking thing. But I was so into music that for my 5th birthday, my parents bought me a second-hand little,
Oh, really? A toy record player?
Not a toy.
Oh, wonderful.
And years later, I tracked one down.
Oh, what?
Oh, fantastic.
I don't know if you can see it. How can we get to this?
Yeah.
Can you lift it up to the surface? Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, fantastic.
So I got the replica.
So it's a portable. Oh, it's a little suitcase. Isn't that lovely?
It's a suitcase, yeah.
Can you remember what you played on it?
Yeah, I can. I can. One of my earliest memories is of my parents going out and being with them and going out and buying Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields.
Oh, wow.
Age 4, which is one of the earliest things I can remember. So, yeah, we had we had Hard Day's Night, and we had Help, and then mainly my parents it was more older stuff, big band stuff. They were of that era, Sinatra.
Yeah,
right.
So, I used to play that. And for some reason, we had the Steptoe theme.
Right.
Yeah,
the theme. The theme. That's
a 7-inch tingle. And thank you very much by the Scaffold.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So when I get asked this question, what's the first record you bought? Penny Lane is quite a cool answer.
It is a very cool
really
answer.
is, especially if you're only 4 or 5 or whatever. It's amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Incredible. Can you remember the first album you bought?
I can, and I still have it, which I'm really pleased about.
Yeah.
We'll get onto it, but I started Badlands by selling my record collection.
Oh, really? Oh, go on. Yeah, go on.
So I do have my first album, and I have my copy, which I never sold. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I had it yesterday. Maybe I've lost it. Here it is.
Oh, right. Well, there
nice.
you go.
Classic. I didn't buy it in. It's really battered, actually. It's sellotape at the top. I didn't buy it in '69. I bought that in 1972, I reckon.
Right.
And 99.
So where were you living as a child?
As a child, well, I grew up in Cheltenham.
Right.
My parents are up north. They're from 2 great rock and roll cities. My dad's from Liverpool. My mum's from Manchester.
Right.
Perfect.
I'm very proud of
a certain amount of rivalry, I'm sure.
A bit of How did that work?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But they moved here when I was 2. So yeah, grew up in Cheltenham.
And so, where would you go and buy records when you were a child in Cheltenham?
There was a huge, well, there was a lot of options. W.H. Smith's.
Yes.
There was a kind of independent W.H. Smith's in Cheltenham called Preedy's, like a
Oh, right.
mainly a stationery shop, and that was where I would. That's where I remember buying Penny Lane, and then a few years later, when I was a bit older and had pocket money and was going out to choose my own records, that's where I would buy my records. Preedy's, and they had a huge. This would be like 71, 72. And they had a huge section of 7-inch singles. You could still flip through the 7-inch singles and buy all the Beatles singles, and that was my thing, really. Beatles.
So, were you obsessed with going into record shops from an early age? Were you one of those people who couldn't go past a record shop without going in?
Pretty much, yeah, very much so. And I just loved music, that was it. New records, yeah. Yeah,
but also that was where all the information was, wasn't it? I mean, you'd have to go in and you didn't know what was available, and just hours of reading sleeve notes.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, fantastic times. And I used to. I mean, I was a kid, so I used to buy things in the bargain bin. They had great bargain bins in those days because if stuff didn't go in the chart, it was straight, it's away. So I got some weird and wonderful stuff like that. Definitely.
Right. So, can you remember your first gig?
I can, yeah. I went to see my brother. I started Badlands with my brother Stephen, who I think you guys might have met.
Yeah.
He sadly died, 9 years ago now. But I started with Stephen, who was 6 years older than me. So he took me to my first gig, which is at XTC at Cheltenham Town Hall.
Oh, right. Well, that's quite local, isn't it?
Very local, yeah. And
roughly when would that have been then?
Early 78.
Right.
Oh, what a great time to see them.
Yeah, so I was about 15 then, yes. Yes. So
Radios in Motion, Statue of Liberty. Yes.
Yes, that's right. Science fiction.
Wonderful.
My fingers, yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah.
And it was and from then it was just non-stop. I mean, I already had, at the stage I went there, I already had tickets for David Bowie that year at Earl's Court, so I was a huge Bowie
right.
by that, early 70s.
So Cheltenham Town Hall was very much on the circuit, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. It's on and off. Before my I mean, I was into music. I just wasn't allowed to go to the gigs that my brother was going. I always wanted to go. In fact, I had tickets, or I had persuaded my father to take me to see the Beach Boys in 1976 at Cardiff Castle, but it got cancelled. So
really?
That would have been another cool first gig.
That would have been good.
Yeah. So, but yes,
there would have been no Brian.
Was Brian there in 76?
Don't think he was he?
He was. Well, I mean, no one was there for this gig because it didn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cheltenham was very much on the circuit. They had, Queen played here, Thin Lizzy played here, Mott the Hoople, lots of stuff. So I'd be watching them on Top of the Pops, wanting to go and see them.
Yeah.
Brother would be getting to go and see them. It was quite frustrating for me.
So was he the one that started the shop?
Not really. I mean, we started it together in '85, and it was probably me who started it more so. There was no plan. It wasn't like let's start a record shop. It was I'd given up work. I went to work in an insurance office, quite a boring job really, after school, and I did 2 or 3 years of that, and I thought, no, this is enough. And I went to America for a few weeks with no plan, travelled around, visited some friends, came back with not much to do, and I thought, I saw an advert for, you could get a stall on Evesham Market. Evesham's about half-hour drive from Cheltenham. You could get a stall on the market for £3.50 a day. I'll go and sell some of my records.
Oh, really? See, just your records?
£3. So and I told, got Stephen involved because he had plenty of records as well, being that much older. So we just went, and I'd been an avid music and we both had been avid music fans, but not collectors, not in terms of the value. So I was stunned when I used to listen to John Peel as we all did, and so I had loads of early Cure records, early Fall, 7-inch singles, all that kind of stuff, which people just pounced on and bought.
So you were saying that you made the money to start the record shop, in fact, from selling your records in this store.
Record collection, yeah,
incredible,
absolutely. So the thought was always, well, I can replace these, because at that time in '85, so it kind of grew quickly because it was fun, we just started going out buying other record collections, going to charity shops. In fact, I went to a charity shop to buy some records yesterday. I'm still doing the same thing all these years later. But it snowballed pretty quickly. But there was no plan. It was just let's make it.
But what was the Springsteen connection then? I mean, that was just a particular favourite for the two of you.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's we didn't have a name for the business. We were just on a stall at a market, and then this opportunity came up in Cheltenham for an indoor. They built a new shopping centre, and upstairs, above what was British Home Stores, BHS had obviously left. Or didn't want to take the third floor, so they quickly knocked it into small units and called it the Market Square. And it was only £40 a week to have a little stall there. So we risked it and went for that. So we got a name. So it was just something we agreed on, right? The name. We thought of all sorts of songs.
So you weren't specialising in Springsteen particularly. That was just the name of the shop.
We were huge.
Yeah.
We were huge fans. It was something that we both shared because there was a lot. We were a bit like Liam and Noel, me and my brother. I mean, I do miss the arguments, and the fighting you can have with your brother, and then you can hug and make up. That's what I really miss. But he was into the Stones. I was into the Beatles. He supported Man United. I supported Man City. So
endless opportunity for conflict. Yeah,
endless. But Bruce was something that was really close to both of us, and we'd been to see him together in '81 when the first tour. I know he played Hammersmith Odeon in '75, but I was definitely too young. But yes, and in '85 he'd done well. Thanks to I remember your documentary, David, which.
It was saying he owes everything to me.
He does.
Yeah,
well, it really kick-started it again, though, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It really did. It was part of that Born in the USA mania. So we'd been to see him 3 times at Wembley. So it was a big period of listening to Bruce a lot because he just kind of conquered the world, hadn't he? So
well, he was particularly huge, wasn't he, around 85, 86?
Yeah.
I mean, really, really big records, and he kind of cracked MTV to some extent, a whole new audience, really.
Yeah, so that was
hit singles, indeed.
Yeah, that was our big thing at that time. So, and it just seemed like a cool name. But we had other things on the list. We were both really into the Clash as well. So we could have called it, Clampdown Records or
Sandinista. Yeah.
I love Sandinista actually, but I might not still be here now if I'd called it Sandinista.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely, that's a good point.
You were very fortunate beneficiaries of the Bruce Springsteen success.
Yeah, it was really lucky. I mean, obviously, we were Bruce fans, and at that time we bought a big Bruce collection of someone who's become a good friend of mine. So we used to list things in the back of Record Collector, and so they'd get so the name attracted Bruce fans to us. So it just sort of snowballed from there.
And this is before the internet, isn't it?
This is pre-internet, yeah. Pre-CDs as well. We started in it was pre-CD, so it was all still vinyl then. Yeah.
And you were specialising in kind of rarities and collectible stuff rather than getting in whatever the new records were.
We started off secondhand stuff. We did sell a few new records. There's a good story there actually. But yeah, we was mainly secondhand when we started. But we became quite friendly with a couple of guys who worked in music market. There was a small chain, and so people would come into our little market stall and say, have you got King of America by Elvis Costello? You go, hang on a minute. And we'd run down.
Just go and buy it.
Yeah, you go buy one. Then. Charge him £2 extra.
There you go, mate.
Yeah.
We'll pay you later in the pub. And we always get the pub together after work on a Saturday. So, but yeah, we did. We let me think about this. We started selling new records because Sony, I think when Tunnel of Love was about to come out, Sony were in dispute with Our Price Records.
Oh, really?
So Our Price wouldn't stock Sony's.
Oh, right.
And even though we were a very, very small, haphazard, opening an account with a big company like Sony was a no-no in those days.
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless you had a trading record and all this kind of stuff. But we phoned Sony and said, look, we love Bruce Springsteen, and Tunnel of Love's not going to be available in Cheltenham because there's only an Our Price and us. And so we opened an account, and it went from there, really. And then we opened an account with all the indie labels. They all came through the cartel.
Oh, right, of course.
And so there we were. We had Tunnel of Love, and no one else had that in town. And it must have been before that, actually. The year before, we were stocking all the stuff. I saw your interview with the guy who did the C86.
Oh, a nice
Nice
tassel.
Tassel.
Yeah. So all that stuff we were selling, the shop assistants and things like that, all the rough trade stuff.
Right. Okay. So that was it. You were slowly growing a regular clientele.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And how much has that clientele changed in the years since?
I mean, a lot of our clientele, certainly a lot of our clientele online and mail order has grown with us. Really, we sell a lot of stuff to people of my age and up. Our generation buying Revolver box sets again and Dylan box sets, and that they're huge sales for us. But kids are buying music again, so it's great. We get younger kids coming in buying albums. I keep calling them vinyl. Everyone calls it vinyl now.
Yeah, I know it's wrong, isn't it?
It
really?
is wrong.
It's records, for crying out loud.
Yes.
But from our point of view, you just get sucked into saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you started, you were doing vinyl, or you were doing mainly singles, then you were doing some LPs.
Yeah.
And then presumably those were replaced by CDs, and there must have been a time when it was just pretty much all CD, was it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what, during the 90s kind of thing?
Yeah. The first CD we stocked, and it was so exciting, was Sergeant Pepper.
Oh, really?
Oh, right.
It was advertised as it was 20 years ago today.
Yeah.
CD 20 years after the album, and it came with a little booklet, and that was really exciting. I mean,
we did that as the cover story of Q. I can remember that was a really big deal, wasn't it?
Yes, it was huge. Yeah.
So you presumably had to, you had to reorganize your racks, so that you could display CDs in them.
That's
Have
right,
you had to refit the place, over the years?
Yeah. Well, actually, yes, we did. I mean, we when we opened this in this shop, it would have been all vinyl. All records on the. That's it. All records and cassettes where we flirted.
Yes, there you go.
Yes, I know, you forget.
For a while. In around the late 80s, they thought they're going to take over. I mean, I was never a cassette fan.
Well, they never took over with. They never took over with the kind of the snobs, basically.
No,
they never took over with people like you and me.
No, I mean,
but they did with the mass audience, because when I worked in a record shop in the 70s. Towards the end of the 70s, cassette was the leading medium.
Yes.
Because you wanted them for Walkmans, didn't you?
No, pre-Walkman. It's pre-Walkman.
Pre-Walkmans, yeah.
It was just convenience. It was people like my mother used to refer to music as cassettes.
Right.
Whether she was talking about records, CDs, or whatever, they were cassettes. Because as far as she was concerned, that was the leading carrier. And I think that applied to quite a lot of people, actually.
Wow.
But it was CD during the 90s. And then when did you start to notice the kind of resurgence of interest in vinyl. How long ago was that?
I, we had this is it's a shame I can't show you the building from outside because it's not a real. I'm not in a street of Badlands. I know you've been here.
Yeah, yeah.
David. It's not a street of shops.
No, it's not.
Just off the high street, and this is an old coach house, 3-story coach house. So
Wonderful.
it's not really designed to be a shop. But so we had 2 sales floors. So in the 90s, we had mainstream CDs down here on the ground floor, and upstairs we had we kept going with records, and because I employed a DJ, and we sold a lot of dance music, but so we were doing that for a long time. But at some point, I think when Curtis, who ran that floor, left, we just ran it all down, so at some point in the early noughties, we will have been CD only.
Right. But then it switched.
Then it started coming back again. That was a period. I do a lot. I mean, one of the things you were saying about how you keep a record shop going, I do a lot of other things as well. Still, we run trips to see Springsteen all over the world, and take hundreds of people on tour. So at that period, when he reformed the E Street, we were busy jetting around, going to gigs all over the place. So I've kind of lost track of time of what was happening when.
What? So you do kind of package tours to Europe or whatever to see?
Yeah. We're a travel agency as well. We got a company.
That's fantastic.
Travel. So yeah. That was really exciting too.
So the two of the people you specialise in are Springsteen and Dylan. And are there any particular items from their catalogues that are the really huge sellers that people always want to get hold of?
They've got such hardcore fan bases, right? That a new Bruce album, everyone who wants it buys it instantly.
Yeah.
And then you can't
give it away.
You can't give it away. And same.
No, I'm sure. That's interesting. Yeah.
Kids definitely come in and buy. They'll buy the classic albums.
Yeah.
They'll buy Born to Run and tracks. If we secondhand, that they love picking up the classics.
Yeah.
So you do secondhand.
We started doing it again. Yeah, we didn't for years. We stopped doing it when everything went to CD. It just got you. Secondhand CDs were quite. You get kids coming in trying to sell that are obviously knocked off collections.
Right.
It was too much hassle. I think we ended up buying. I think I ended up buying a collection off someone who was in a local off someone, and then someone who was in a local band came and said, "That's mine. I know that's mine." And I had my and of course you feel. Sorry for the guy, so I gave him all this and just thought this is too much hassle. So we got completely out of the second-hand market. But a couple of years ago, a friend of mine was selling his collection, and I said, "Well, I'll sell it and split the money." And we started again. I love that side of things. It's fun.
So you must get the thing I've always noticed with the vinyl resurgence is that people are now paying fortunes for old records that sat in bargain bins during the 90s for 50p and nobody wanted them.
Absolutely. Yeah, incredible. I mean, I think when we started selling second-hand records again, the first one we sold was Sade, which is a classic example. I mean, great album and all that. Huge
hit. Then nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
Then completely out of vogue, wasn't it? That's right.
And they put
Couldn't
it
give
out.
them away.
It went the first day, for a tenner or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does the record market work nowadays? Do you take any interest in what's in the charts, or do you think I've got to stock that? Everybody's talking about it, or do you just not bother? You just know your clientele.
I think the latter. I mean, I haven't a clue what's going on in the charts, to be honest. I mean, if I'm in a pop quiz, which in that or quiz, music questions, my knowledge of the charts kind of ends as we started. Even right from '85, the charts to me were.
Yeah. So you live in your own little world.
Absolutely, I think so. Yeah.
But you have a recommended thing, don't you, on your online? I think you've got
Yeah.
Angel Olsen, I think it is, and Kate
Yeah,
LeBon and Danny and the Champions of the World at the moment. I think even Beyonce, actually. So that's quite interesting. I mean, do your powers of persuasion have a real effect? If you recommend stuff, do you find that they definitely sell?
Yes, I mean, I've got to say, I've spent most, going back to my travel side of things, because Bruce Springsteen's back on tour or going on.
Yeah,
tour,
yeah.
I spent most of this year working there, so I don't work in this shop every day,
Really?
unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's 6 of us work here. So I've got 6 staff, and there's a girl called Julia who works here, and it's her. So I just let her have full reign over what.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I chip in, and you know,
Yeah.
I'd love to work in here every day, but I don't. That's one of the ironies of
Being successful.
running a successful business is. I mean, I gave up working in an office to work in a record shop. Now I'm sat at an office at a computer all day looking at spreadsheets of hotel
So,
rooms.
The
really?
hotels in Stuttgart.
So
that's right.
how many people will you have booking a kind of Springsteen tour through Badlands?
We're taking about 120 people to see him in Rome at the
That's
church.
And
fantastic.
these are UK people that you're taking to Rome.
Mainly UK people who will go abroad. I mean, we're keeping it. Obviously, the pandemic has affected travel massively. I mean, you know, it scares me somewhat that it
Yeah.
you know, another variant
Be
comes
called
along
off.
and it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
problematic because this tour was hours from being announced for 2022, and then it got pulled because of the Omicron variant. They just decided not to do it, which was a good decision on their part. But the whole
So do you just do one night things, or do you occasionally go and do Rome, and then you all get in a big old coach and go up to?
we have done that, yeah.
Fantastic.
We when for one of the for the Rising tour, we knew Bruce was going to play Paris, and we had very good contacts for tickets in Paris. So we called it the Magical Mystery Tour, and you bought you booked a package which was Paris and wherever the next show is.
Oh, really?
That was
Oh, amazing.
And it happened to be in Barcelona, and we got everyone on a train from Paris to Barcelona, and yeah, organised that. And I'm talking,
Boy, that must be fun.
it is fun, but we've taken, I think the most we've taken is like 400 people to Paris. That's a lot of,
My
you know,
Lord.
somewhat,
Isn't that a lot of worry? I mean,
it's an enormous amount of work.
it must be. I mean, do you get, you know, you must get some disgruntled customers, you know, not based on anything you've not provided, but I don't like it because Bruce didn't sing Thunder Road.
Yeah,
or
because he
whatever.
didn't play the song of the year. Yeah, it's your fault.
Dedicated to my girlfriend.
We did get a call for one of these Paris trips, and someone phoned up. She said, I know this sounds a silly question, but will he sing in English or French?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had the odd thing go wrong, but, you know, and it is a worry. I guess the older I get, and because of what's happened, I'm more worried now about things going wrong than I was 20 years ago. I never really thought about the concept of things going wrong, but now, of course, you do. So I'm trying to keep it much smaller scale this year. I don't want the worry of 400 people going to Paris.
But I suppose the other thing you've seen change is that people just travel nowadays, don't they, to go to gigs in a way that they never used to do, did they?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've always loved it. We've been doing that for years, which I guess is why we started the business, because it was just an extension of what we wanted to do, you know. Especially like Bruce going to New Jersey, you know, it's like a great thing to do, to go and see the boss on his home turf. It's just fantastic fun. And then of course we end up doing coach tours around Asbury Park and all. You go and see all the sites, and that's just brilliant.
Oh, that must be brilliant. Wonderful.
So do you do this with Bob Dylan?
I've not. We do trips to Dylan shows, but that audience, I mean, we do, but it's on a much smaller scale. I'll be sort of 30 or 40 people maximum for a Bob Dylan thing. Partly because I think that Dylan's on tour relentlessly, right? Never ending. I think those guys are more used to just doing their own thing and organising their own tickets.
Right.
There's a whole gang of them who go to every show. I mean, I've got friends who've been to over 600 Bob Dylan shows. Go.
You see, I think it's wrong. I think people should just stop. You know, because it's like stalking the poor man, isn't it? The guy goes out on stage and he looks out in the front row.
He looks out, sees
exactly
the same
who's going to be there.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Springsteen do for a while? He used to keep a whole load of seats in the front row and then just get someone to give them to people who are in right at the back or whatever. Just promote them. Just so you've got that kind of enthusiasm and different people at the front.
And he's done a great thing where you get in the front pit. You have to queue up. You don't pay extra to get in the front. You queue up all day. So if you've got the dedication, you can get in. Similar sort of thing. So,
but it also guarantees that a load of people who are genuinely excited are going to be there and really appreciate it.
Yes.
Not sitting there with their arms folded, going, you didn't play this.
But,
so, who else do you do
for trips? I mean, we mainly do stuff we like and stuff of that era. That we've done McCartney, the Stones. Brian Wilson, a few shows to Brian Wilson. If I'm going at one stage, if I was going to a concert, I'd just buy extra tickets and.
What do you think about the ticket pricing issue?
This is another reason why that business is so hard, so much more stressful now. When we started, it was sort of £50 for a concert ticket, £50 for a hotel bed, and £50 for our. Putting the package together. And of course now you're looking at £300 for a concert ticket or the Stones in Hyde Park this summer. I think that the sort of in front of the stage tickets were £380.
That's right.
Kind of eye-watering, isn't it? Really,
it is, particularly if you remember them playing in Hyde Park for nothing.
Yeah, particularly if it's raining.
Whenever it was. I mean, do you think these prices will continue going up?
I think during COVID, and I kind of got out of the habit. I was a prodigious concert goer, and I personally have got out of the habit, and a few of friends have. And it was like when concerts were getting cancelled, I had tickets for the Who at the Albert Hall at some stage, and I got £400 back, and you're thinking, was it real? Do I really need to spend £200 for me and £200 for my girlfriend to see the Who again?
Well, but I read a piece the other day saying quite a lot of people are buying tickets and then at the last minute just deciding not to go. They've just kind of lost their nerve or whatever. So It really is affecting things, isn't it?
Yeah, it has done. Yeah, it has done. Yeah, but equally, there's this dynamic. I mean, we're talking. I think prices of hundreds of pounds is insane, but there's. Springsteen tickets in America were going for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
What's it called? Dynamic pricing.
Dynamic pricing.
Yes.
Terrible. I mean,
Well, but it is it's sort of unavoidable, isn't it? Because you've got such a mass audience, and you've got the means of all the mass audience buying and selling.
Yes.
So if you think you can get $1,000 for your ticket, you'll get it, won't you?
Yes. Well, it's technology working, isn't it? I guess
it is.
Ticketmaster, they're pricing them up demand, and if people are out there, I mean, did I read that people were paying $40,000 for Adele tickets in Las Vegas? I mean,
well, the
40,000.
Well, the people in Las Vegas with mad money, undoubtedly. But even on a more local basis, talking to somebody last night who'd gone husband and wife and two small children to see Mary Poppins in the West End of London, £100 each.
Yeah.
For like 5-year-olds, seeing Mary Poppins. They'd be perfectly happy going to see a production of the local Scout Hut, probably, for nothing at all, But everybody's obsessed that they've got to go to these gigs, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
But that works in your favour, so.
Well, no, it doesn't, because as I say, the kind of the business model's gone, because I've got to buy the tickets to think of reselling them, and it's just, there's so much money. It's just too much.
God, that is a huge investment, isn't it? If you're buying several hundred tickets.
Yeah. If I had
Do you ever worry that you might not sell them?
Yeah, or that and these guys are getting older, right? The worry that something's going to happen. The first we had tickets for the Stones. Of course, if I think Mick got COVID, didn't he?
He did.
He got something, yeah.
And I'm thinking, God, if that was London and I had the hotels booked and paid for, and even though it's 20 people, but 20 people at £400 a ticket, it's a lot.
Absolutely.
It's too much. So yeah, so I'm kind of looking at, definitely downsizing that and getting back.
Coming back to the shop.
Back into record. Safer life, yeah.
You know where you stand there.
A nice steady business, selling vinyl.
Absolutely.
I do. I think it's time. I'm 60 next year. I've worked hard, and I think it's time to retire and from that side of it and concentrate on a few records again.
You'll just be an eccentric old gentleman still plying his trade in a record shop in a converted coach house just off Cheltenham High Street.
Shiny-faced youngsters will be queuing up for you to tell your old folkloric tales. That's right.
Well, I think
records.
it's remarkable that you've stayed in business. I mean, when you look at what's happened to record shops generally speaking,
Yeah, well, yes, and I think the fact, again, going back to how lucky we were to call our shop Badlands and get
absolutely
the Springsteen side of things, and you've got to. I think we had to diversify and do other things. So we had that. We started our own travel agency. And we started listing things online. I think we were quite early to mail order selling. In fact,
right
in the back of Q magazine. In fact.
Yeah.
We used to list all the stuff there. That was great. It was great.
Yeah. Very effective advertising medium, magazines.
Yeah.
Much undervalued in retrospect.
It was, wasn't it? It was great. It was great. And the thing we could do then in those adverts, you'd get wind of, I don't know. Well, the best one is Neil Young's Archives Volume 2 box set coming soon. So we just list it,
This is what used to happen. I remember this. If you go back and look at the old Virgin ads, from the 70s, they used to. Do you remember the Jeff Beck Superstition? Stevie Wonder's Superstition was originally written for Jeff Beck, wasn't it? There's some story like this.
Okay.
And so he recorded some version. And so the story went around that Jeff Beck was making an album on Motown. And if you look, and in very early Virgin mail order ads, it go, Jeff Beck Motown LP coming soon. And so consequently, for years, you used to get people coming in shops saying,
is it in yet?
Is it in yet? It's like, no, it's never I don't think it's going to happen. And they'd look at you like, guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because once you've planted an idea like that, people can't resist it.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, we used so things that was great fun. So we just hear that something was coming out, and you just say, Phil, can you send me that when it's? And the good side of it was, if you trusted us, then eventually months later your record
would arrive.
Yes. If you're thinking I'm expecting this in 3 days,
No, people were far more patient in those days, weren't they?
Yeah.
You had to be.
Yeah,
you simply had to be.
And now it's like everything else. It's instant. The record companies now. Everything's embargoed, so I'll know about a new album, but I'm not allowed to mention it I'm not allowed to put it on sale until 2 p.m. on Friday the whatever.
Yes.
And then everyone's putting it on sale at exactly the same time, including the artists selling it direct to their fans, which, ultimately, that's... Will that be the final nail in the coffin of record shops? I hope. I like to hope not, but I don't like it. I don't think Paul McCartney really needs to sell things direct to his fans.
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does, because that's the other thing.
Is there a price difference?
No, but they'll have a
Special edition or whatever.
a special edition.
Yeah.
Sometimes it won't affect people, but it more and more so it seems to be. Like the next Dylan bootleg series, you can only buy the complete box set on vinyl direct from them. So,
Oh, really? That's interesting.
yeah.
And this is all the
Yeah.
stuff that years ago they said this is never going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
This is spoiling the reputation of this artist by putting out unsanctioned material.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Absolutely.
And then they tried it and thought, my God, let's keep
My God,
hammering away at
this
this
is-
as often as possible.
This is the
Yeah.
money we can make.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh well, Phil, I'm sure you'll still be there in many years' time. Don't worry. Badlands
No,
will.
we will. Yes, we will. We love it. So if you're doing something you're passionate about, then keep going.
So do you get musicians coming into the shop? You must get famous people dropping in.
Yeah, occasionally we get the people who are playing in town will come in, and I promote a few local gigs and so forth. The best, I should have told you earlier, the best story about that is when little Stephen came to the shop last
Right.
which is amazing. He was over promoting his book, and you guys know all about Cheltenham Literature Festival, right?
Yeah.
Huge thing.
Sunday Times published promoted event. So, but when his book was coming out, I wrote to a friend who works with him and said, surely Stephen should come and, his book was coming out a few weeks before the literary festival. Get him on here, and then we could do something together with Badlands as well. The Bruce Springsteen fan club side of things. Didn't happen. So when he did come to the UK, and he did a few talks, and he was at a bookshop in Bath, and the publisher said, "Oh, we'd love to do something with Badlands. What can we do?" And it was during the pandemic, and he didn't want to do a meet and greet. I said, "Well, maybe he could just come to Badlands, come and visit us, sign a few extra books, and I'll take him to see Brian Jones's grave." He's a huge Stones fan, and
Which is nearby. It's A.A. Milne's house, wasn't it? That's right, yeah.
Yeah, he was born in Cheltenham. So, and every American band we ever put on, they do their sound check, because I promote a few gigs locally. Can we go and see Brian Jones? Taking quite a few people up there. So anyway, little Stephen said yes to this. I was stunned. Only the day it was due to happen, and they phoned up. They were in Bath. They said, "We'll try and make it work," because he had to go back to an event in London. So I got a phone call. Yeah, he's on his way. Then I got another phone call. Can you arrange for him to have a COVID test? Because he's got I thought, I don't know. I envisaged walking down Cheltenham High Street with little Stephen in all his
Yes.
waiting in boots for a COVID test, a fit to fly test. Yes, and as it happened, you had to book appointments, and it was a Saturday, and you couldn't get an appointment. So no, can't help. Oh, we're going to get a test in Bath. We might be late. And you know these things you always think, well, they're going to try to come, but they won't. It won't happen. And it did. He turned up. He came to the shop, which was great. It was lovely with everyone, Steve. And he was great. And I wasn't allowed to tell anyone, so the shop was empty, like today.
Right.
It was a bit bizarre. It was a kind of, a book signing with no one there.
No one there.
Apart from me and the staff. We had a good chat, and he looked around, and he was really fun, nice. And he took it. He said, "Well, we want to go for lunch, so take him to lunch." And we went up to lunch somewhere at Montpellier near the literary festival's on.
Yeah.
So Stephen's car drives him up to lunch, and he sees all these tents everywhere, and we sat down, and he said, "What's going on over there?" I said, "Oh, it's Cheltenham Literature Festival." Why aren't I there?
Oh, there you go.
So I think the publishers got it in the neck a bit.
I bet they did.
I'm sure they did.
So how big? How many copies of a book like Stephen's book will you sell?
Well, we got signed copies, so over 500 copies we sold.
Hardback
Huge.
copies.
That is absolutely huge.
You're a big deal in the book trade.
So yeah, I hope so. Well, that's that. You know, I mean, and when a Springsteen or Dylan album comes out, we sell a lot. You know.
So the Springsteen book, the Springsteen autobiography, how many copies of that did you sell?
I would say, I mean, that's 5 or 6 years ago. Double that, over 1,000 copies, I think.
That's enormous. My
That's
God.
enormous.
It really is.
You will be, I venture to suggest, and I know you're doing it mail order, so it's slightly different. That will be the biggest single sale in the UK for that book.
Really? Wow.
I'm guessing.
think
I'm
so,
guessing.
yeah.
I would have thought so.
I mean, unless he turns up and does a major signing in Waterstones and Piccadilly, which you might have done. I don't know.
He did, yes.
He did. But that's the only way that you'll get more than that.
Yeah. That's incredible.
That's
Staggering
extraordinary.
numbers.
Well, there you go. So listen, the way we normally finish these chats is we ask people to tell us the greatest record ever made.
The greatest record ever made.
And there you are. You're surrounded by them. What would you pick?
There is no
out of
wrong
that?
answer.
Yeah,
There
what
is
would
no
you
wrong
pick?
answer. There's lots of answers.
Well, absolutely. Just pick one. Pick one.
Mine would have to be the only one's Another Girl, Another Planet.
Oh, fantastic.
A wonderful record. Yeah.
Have you got a copy of that there?
That great guitar solo.
I have upstairs on my desk, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a copy here.
Oh, well.
But it's an amazing record. Play
It really is.
And it's maybe slightly more. I mean, it was a non-hit, wasn't it? It's
Yeah.
lots of people have heard, but lots of people haven't. So
It was a turntable hit, as we
Turntable and an immaculate solo, the way it just builds, doesn't it?
Superb.
From right down the bottom to those wonderful high notes. It's just superb.
Well, look, nice talking to you, and thanks very much for coming in and opening the shop on a Sunday
Good fun,
morning.
really good fun.
And long may you run, in the words of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yes.